Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Myths and Meaning, a Storyteller's Hearth. And here we are, under a buck moon, a mead moon, a claiming moon. But I've got to apologise because we had some quite, just issues with the internet here in the South Hands of Devon. And we couldn't quite, I couldn't quite connect up. So I missed the strawberry moon, but that's a tale for later on, isn't it? Kind of nearly this time next year. But here we are, under the buck moon. And the buck moon, this is the only moon that will grow a new crown upon the deer, upon the bucks. We've got this little soft velvet thing going on. And soon they'll grow. And they'll harden. And they'll harden. Ready for autumn. Ready for the rut. And it's the Mead moon. Because it's the bees. They've collected all the nectar they could possibly collect. From all the flowers. All the pollination. And it's the time where the harvest of the hives is due. But this year we're having a bit of a dry summer in Britain, and it's the poor bees, the flowers aren't so succulent. They've got the food and they're doing the thing. Well, they're not gathering as much, so all the harvest is going to be a bit low this year. But nonetheless, the flowers here in spring and early summer were just out of this world. And it's a claiming moon. It's a claiming moon because this is the time, some would say, that the earth in the northern hemisphere, she's given all that she can to get everything to grow, to get everything to fruit, ready for the harvest. And to succumb again to autumn. And it's also the claiming moon. The claiming moon, it's for the local people to sort out anything that isn't sorted out. Any debts, anything owed, anything said. Get it all clear, have a reckoning, sort it out. Because the people need to be together for the harvest. Because the harvest is coming. And it required peace in order for it to work. So the tale I'm going to tell you tonight, it's a reckoning tale. It's a local tale. It's local to here in Devon. It's from Dartmoor, which is just up the road from me, just north. It's near a place called Maniton. And up there on the moors, the granite, it comes striking through the heather, like the skeleton of the earth almost. And the mists will come in unexpected and they'll leave even more unexpectedly. And the nights are so clear. You can see most stars in the universe. Beautiful place, primordial place, ancient place. So that's where I'm going to take you tonight. I'm going to take you to Dartmoor, near a place called Maniton. And it's a story of the Bowerman. And the Bowerman, he was a great hunter. A masterful, skillful hunter of all. But he never, ever hunted for his family. And he never, ever hunted for his village. And he never hunted for the hungry locals. He only hunted for his pride, for his ego, for his self. Because he felt that when he was hunting, he was the lord over the whole land, the king of all in front of him. And we do know that people that think like that, there's always something going to happen to them, isn't there? Otherwise there wouldn't be a tale to tell. So the bowerman woke up, had his breakfast, sorted himself out, and he thought, you know what, I'm going to take my hands out and my horse and I'll go hunting on the moor. And these, mind you, were the finest hounds that anyone had ever seen upon the moor. And he had the finest steed that anyone had laid eyes upon for many, many a year. And people revered him. And of course they would, because he was a master at his craft. So out he went. And sure enough, after a mile or two, his hounds, the dogs, they scented. And they scented a hare. And he whistled, set them off. And off they went, chasing this hare. Past the tors and over the leas and through the combes. And until they came up on a little copse of wood, just above Manatee. And the hounds chased the hare down, and the hare ran through the copse of wood. But what the hare didn't know, nor did the hounds, or nor did the bowerman, that there was a coven of witches in that copse of wood. And they were laying ceremony. They were mid-ceremony, in mid-worship, in mid-prayer. And the hare ran right through the middle of them, which startled them somewhat, but being deep as they are, they thought maybe it's a sign, but sure enough it wasn't. It wasn't such a sign. They first believed because the dogs came after them. They came after the hare and they had to widen their circle. And some of them tripped and fell, and some of them fell backwards. Because the dogs did startle them. And then just behind the dogs, on this great, great steed, it was the bowerman, laughing. Just laughing. Pure arrogance. Thinking it's funny to break up a coven of witches in mid-ceremony. Perhaps that's a good idea in his mind. But the witches, they screamed and they hollered at him. And that is not a sound that you and I would like ever to hear. But still the bowerman laughed and went on to chase his hare down. But the witches, they knew what he was about. They knew the law, and they knew the land, and they knew what moon was coming. So they waited. And sure enough, the bowerman, he woke up. He woke up on the day of the book moon, the Mead moon, the reckoning moon, the claiming moon. But he didn't know any of this. For this he didn't care about. Any law was just, that meant nothing to him. So out he went. And then sure enough, 2 or 3 miles down the road, his dogs, they caught a scent. And he saw, that's the scent of a hare. You could tell by his dog's reaction. So he whistled them on. And as he whistled them on, a white hare appeared just in front of his hounds, standing upright, looking straight at the bowerman. Oh, this excited him, and he called to his hounds, and the chase was on. Now this white hare, she led them down leas and combes, through black bogs, past past tors and past rocks that the bowerman, he couldn't remember seeing, even though he knew them all like the back of his hand. And a mist came in when it shouldn't have done, and a mist went out when it had no right to. And on and on and on they went. And the hunt, it went on for hours. It went on for so long that the bowerman was no longer laughing. Yeah, it was becoming quite serious. He was seeing his dogs tire, and he felt his horse tire underneath him. But still on they went, and the hare just one step away from the hounds the whole time. And again he went past the tor, went past the coombe, not recognising the thing, until he came to a copse, a wee copse of wood, and he had a small recollection that perhaps he'd been there before. But as he was thinking this, his horse was floundering underneath him. His horse was frothing at the mouth. Unable to sweat, the horse could go on no more. And he looked at his hounds, and his hounds, it's like the legs had turned to water. And they were floundering as well, and they were panting, their tongues out. And again, the hare, sprightly from the start of the chase, she was just one step ahead. So the bowerman felt something he'd never felt before. He'd felt the urge to give up and to let go. But still, he called his hounds further and pushed them on to get the white hare. But as he called them, the white hare, it stopped. It stopped and turned around and faced the pack. And as she faced the pack, she grew. And she grew into the great witch of the coven, the masterful one, the one that held it all. And then behind her, the coven stepped out from the copse. And before the bowerman could take a breath and start cursing them, the witches, they incanted. And they incanted words that you and I can only guess at. But the more it fell silent. And people do say it's the silence, it was more silent than more has ever been, and ever will be again, for every animal and every insect just lay dormant. So the bowerman, upon his tired horse, he felt something different. His horse was no longer warm, it was cold. And then he felt it in his feet, and he felt it in his calves and his knees and his thighs, and he felt it in his hips. This cold stiffness. And before he could think any more, he'd been turned to granite. The bowerman's nose above Mallington. And the dogs, they saw this and they ran. And they ran about a mile away. And again, the witches incanted. And the more she fell silent. And the dogs, as they were running, each one individually turned to stone, which created hound jaw. So there's a story of a reckoning. There's a story of a claiming. There's a story of a man whose ego clearly wasn't in line with the keeping of the land. And it's the keeping of the land that we're here to do. It's a respect for the land, the love of the land, and being with the land. And to go against her, well, you better watch your step. And don't go running into a copse of wood too soon.